It's been quite an interesting week, a week where we've seen a lot of things happening. The cabinet secretary nominees being sworn in, the rich, the poor, and the, and the
And us the viewers. And us the viewers just watching the riches.
but it has been very, very interesting, Simon. We missed you the other week. You are not
Oh
here.
yeah. I even forgot I was even missing. Hey, yeah. Thank you. Now you actually missed me.
Yes.
Once. Finally.
Let's leave it at CEO missed you.
Well, it's your biggest show. It's your biggest conversation. Let's be real. I'm your host, CEO Charles Otieno. Karibuni sana. Let's do this together.
Our viewers, how are you? My name is Wanja. Let's do this.
Okay.
And I am Maria, as usual. I should say that. I've not been missed. I'll go missing one day. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for tuning in again. I'm the author of Marriages to Scam and Love the Original You, and I'm so glad for the support that you've been giving me. Thank you so much.
Hey, and finally, as you can see, all of us has our teeth are showing today. Hey, it's gonna be a very good show. I'm Simon Says, and indeed, you wanna keep it locked to find out what I'm actually gonna say on this episode. But first of all, so we start with the first topic.
Let's roll.
Let's go. So you're auditioning for cabinet secretary position. The way you're dressed.
You can see. You can see.
Hey, I can
even
see.
Even the
Hey,
Kenyan
the
national
big
flag
face.
and the coat of arms, my
Eh?
friend. But anyway, let's get back to what happened this week. The cabinet secretaries were actually nominees. They were at the county hall trying to tell us how much their net worth is. Joho said he had 2 billion. I remember Mudavadi earlier said he's worth 4 billion. And the most interesting thing, someone like Kindiki has grown his net worth by 40 million in 1.5 years. I don't know what business these guys do, but even Murkomen, another one, around 70 million, it looks like it's raining money in there. It's raining money if you get appointed. And that's why I have to be appointed, my friend.
Yes, you have to put yourself out there.
Yes.
That's
I wish
something-
they were voting.
That's something I've actually even seen. Something I've actually even seen is
Yes.
that even something that Kenyans now blatantly see. Those Kenyans who are out here saying, why is Joho looking for this job that pays him less than maybe what his net worth is? You have to recognize that indeed a lot of politicians get out inside these positions not only to get more wealth, but also to protect the current wealth that they actually have. And when you recognize that is when you actually see even through their moves is that people get into government not only for even attainment of not even preserving their own wealth, attainment of more wealth, and also even now they get to set the terms as to how even you, as a normal person who's a citizen, can even get even any more money. So with all this net worth and everything, boss, you should know, government is a serious business for the people who are on top. It's us down here who get now persecuted by the government, by the rules that they set.
Yes.
And then and these are like little token positions that they just give out. And see all these auditions that we're doing. It was just glamorizing. Even you saw how they were looking like, oh, I can't remember my net worth. Please send me the documents. As if you don't know. Like, send me then they go like, and then Joho was there like, oh, I need assistance. I can't see. And yet you could see even how much is in your bank account every single time. Because you know it. Because they know how much they're going to withdraw in order to even give out handouts every now and then. They know it. You're in their budget. But you're in their budget of what? Petty cash. Guy.
Maria?
For someone like me, when this ATM card renews and then they cut the money and they send me the message, I already know the balance I have. Mind you, is just as low as 200. Anyway, so I'm one of those Kenyan who was saying that if your business is giving you this much money, why do you need another job? Like, you could spend more time with family. But then I realized that now they have, like, I have this much money and I still have a platform to make more money, and we know very well where you made that money from. I don't think, if Kenyans were watching, I think the one thing that they told themselves is, we are poor. Yeah, we don't have money, and these people are the ones who are going to lead us. They have so much money, but they are still going to see our lives fall down, go into misery. Even like that, knowing very well that in real sense, the money they have, and I know it's not from their businesses, let's be honest. Yeah. Which business gives you that amount of money? I've tried to calculate any other business that would give you that amount of money, and I've realized that I think I also want to vie for that position, only that my net worth, I know the bank account.
Well, for me, first and foremost, the members of parliament are known not to really be so concerned about the welfare of the public interest. So it was, for me, I saw it to be very suspicious that they were even working on a Saturday and on a Sunday to probe the CSs. It seems like they had a very good sitting allowance that they could work on a Sunday.
Money.
Well, that for me. But also, when I listened to the cabinet secretaries, particularly one whose net worth was like around 200 and something million in the previous, like 2 years ago, and now there has been an addition of 100 million. Some people are arguing and asking, you've been working for over 30 years and you've been able to accumulate 200 million. But within 8 months, you've been able to accumulate 100 million. Wow, that looks like a financial miracle. But then again, it was the conduct of the members of the vetting committee, the parliamentarians, that was quite suspicious for me. They were, some people would describe it as a sweetheart deal. It was just a formality. They were just doing it as a formality, but not asking probing questions. You see, if you tell me that you have made 100 million in the last 18 months, there should be good follow-up questions. What do you mean when you say this? What do you mean when you say that? Oh, 100 million. How much have you paid to tax? Because when we are talking about net worth, we must also interrogate issues like, how are these people paying taxes? And I think such a document should be comparable to their tax information from the Revenue Authority. So they were asked very sweet questions. In fact, one of the members of parliament told one of the CS nominees that, you have a very good taste. And he was referring to the girlfriend who has been trending of that CS nominee. And then that CS nominees will be holding a critical docket in government. So imagine that kind of important information to be extracted from the CSs, only for them to be asked light questions, no follow-up questions, no proper, I would call it grilling, because we are talking about people who will be able to be managing billions of public resources. But also for me, I was also asking, some of the PSs who are returning to it a second round were dismissed less than 1 month ago when there was a whole dismissal of the cabinet. So I was of the view that you don't get dismissed for a good job. You don't get dismissed for excellent performance. You get dismissed for doing a bad job. So what changed between 1 month ago of dismissal to last week when they were given other jobs? So one would ask, if you are doing a good job in this place, does it mean you don't have the skill, or does it mean that we'll take you to another docket? So that's what even was annoying the Gen Zs, where they are saying, we didn't say reshuffle, we didn't say replace, we said just reject and remove them. So those are the things that caught me by surprise in the vetting. But also really the inequality between the rich and the poor. We are looking at a person who is not known to, because people say people who have a lot of money are industrialists, they are producers of things, they are manufacturers. These people are not, their wealth is not commensurate to how they get it. You know, these people are not known to produce anything, they are not known to manufacture anything. And therefore, why I think the vetting committee should have done more job of probing, putting them to task. But for me, it was a sweetheart deal. They were so lenient. They were laughing. It is as if they were talking to their friends and peers. You know, how would, for example, Junet Mohammed is an ODM member. Oparanya was his senior in ODM, even in terms of party ranking and even the status of the party. How do you expect such a person to ask heavy questions to a person who has been his boss until last week? It was a sweetheart deal. There was no probing as per.
It was more like they were mocking.
Yeah, it was a formality, mocking. Yeah.
Mocking.
And I think you've captured it very well, Wanja, when you're saying that is these financial miracles which we see every day. And I think the biggest problem, we have to probe where this came from. When the late Jeremiah Kirini wrote the session of paper number 3 is where we messed up our country, because the session of paper number 3 allowed, in essence, people to do business with government. We are not, it is important not to allow cabinet secretaries to do business with government. Because you could see in 1 year, someone making 100 million, and all his life he's made only 200 as a law firm. it means that he's trading with cabinet. He has what we call advantageous position when he hears the government is going to construct a road and he knows that area where the road will pass. He'll go and buy all that tract of land on the side of the road and sell to the government at a higher price. So that insider trading, which we should have actually barred in our constitutionalism, so that people should work hard. Because if you have such kind of advantage, then the public are the people who suffer. And that's why we are saying they do not have industrialists in there. You just sit in an office where you have the information on government projects. And you know, if I take 2 or 3, I make 500 million in 2 years. So that money would have been shared. And that's why you see their money is growing. The economy does not grow in the same percentage. Our economy grows between 4 to 5%, sometimes at 3%. But these guys, if you look at the number of the nominees, their net worth grows 1,000-fold because of that law which Jeremiah Kirini brought in that session paper. Initially, if we looked at our chapter 6 of the Constitution, we should have barred people who are appointed to such offices to trade with. Because if you have advantage of knowing the government is going to borrow 10 billion and it's to construct a hospital in this place and you can supply the goods. So the public does not benefit from these things completely. It's the people who are appointed to these positions who benefit. But also it is a charade which I didn't like, that the way it was put to us. You don't ask about tax the way Wanja said. You don't ask about breakdown of where this money came from. How can someone tell you that I have some units when you grow money in the trees? You don't ask, why are you leaving 2 billion to go and look for this money to protect your wealth? Could you allow someone else to do? And I find it totally wrong as a country that we are fixated with people making money for themselves but not creating wealth for the public.
That's because we glorify wealth. And even another thing is, it was just basically it was more of like a dating show, because they were all courting each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because they're all in the same boat. If I am questioning you doing the same thing that you know very well that I am also doing, because that's the whole idea of even positions of power. And this is not only limited to even Kenya. Even insider trading is also even happens a lot even in the States, even when it comes to now the markets and everything, because they are aware that a certain company is going to sell. So hence even prominent politicians, even like Nancy Pelosi, even her husband and so many people will buy stocks and whatever, and then they'll buy in the dip. You know, they say buy the dip. And then now, eventually now they'll make their returns. Same thing now happens in Kenya, but then in their own way, just like you mentioned about the land and everything. It's when you are in a position of information, now you're able to move faster than anybody else who's outside.
But who selects the vetting committee?
See them themselves.
Then there is no way they are going to come against them. So we were
Of
just
course.
watching them put a show for us.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and we enjoy
and
the
we
show.
give them the platform, which is our eyes, to just watch the show, because they select because if they had someone who would ask questions there, and that's why you did not hear someone, maybe, let's say for example, that's why you did not hear someone from the media who can question them.
Yes.
Yes. You did not hear a common mwananchi, like there's some people, elders of a certain place have been selected, come sit down. No, it is them who selected their people to come and just question the questions that they wanted them to hear. They wanted us to hear.
And that for me, I think, has always been, it's the problem even with our democracy in Kenya. And take a look at some of the nominees. Those nominees were coming from ODM, which is an opposition party, which are even in parliament, they're in the side of the minority. But now the minority side of the political divide seems to have been friends or formed a sort of, is it broad-based or is it bread-based government? Now, if they have formed such kind of because even in the US, the minority side is meant to put the majority side to check. So now imagine members of the minority side, which is ODM, because some of these CS nominees were actually ODM senior party officials until last week, but now they are joining the government. So you also see instances where the minority side of of government, of parliament, which ideally should be the watchdog, and that's why we have a minority side even in the constitution, do not even hold these leaders to account, because they are actually in government in a way. So when you see a member of parliament talking, even before they talk, you even start questioning, you anticipate what they are going to say, because there is no clear demarcation between the majority and the minority side. And that has been seen even in other instances whereby the opposition should take a very strong side or a strong position on issues of mwananchi, but because of that gray area where ni kama wako kwa government, ni kama hawayuko, they just play and ask very playful questions, honestly. Yeah.
And it's a bigger conversation, maybe, Wanja. It does not only... Our constitutionalism brought in something I call a mongrel. Because we want to be a parliamentary system and a presidential system.
At the same time.
It doesn't work. You either go presidential or you go parliamentary.
Yeah.
So we have a mongrel in between in constitutionalism where we do not know where we actually sit. And that's why these things end up happening like this, because you have a mongrel of a constitution.
That's true. What's going on with all these health issues? Tell me about it.
I think I would say, as a typical Kenyan, I would say, where?
What's going on? What's going on?
Where? Because we are dealing with misinformation pro max. It has been there for a long time. Watoto sijui, there's COVID, there is COVID vaccine, it's good, it's not good for us. There's mpox. The government seems to be peddling misinformation. The Kenyans don't trust the government, and then which other way to talk to the Kenyans other than through the church to tell us what is good vaccine, what is not good vaccine. So I would love us to talk about this. What do you think about this whole Ministry of Health, misinformation, use of the church to give us health information?
Maria, as a parent.
As a parent.
And as a person with a medical background.
Let me tell you something. First of all, as a parent, don't come to my child's school to start giving them deworming medicine. We are educated, we know when they need them, we know the right time to give them. It's when you get that clinic book as a parent, it's indicated very well. You deworm your child every 3 months. Yes. So you can't come 1 month after I've dewormed to start deworming. Whatever you're coming to put in my child's body, I'm not okay with it. Parents, beware. Because actually, as my son's school, there's a day they were having an eye checkup. I appreciate how they pass the information. They send the kids with the leaflets. This and this and this hospital are coming to do an eye checkup, and you have to sign a permission slip for your child if you are interested. If you're not interested, it's a no. Now, when it comes from the government, whereby they make everything necessary or they make everything by force, no, this is our children. Please, we feed them. You take the taxes. Another thing is using the church. I feel the church by now should have learned one thing. Okay, let's start with the congregation. The congregation by now should have learned one thing. The church is supposed to teach you to go to heaven and not to get involved in your personal life, especially health. Let me be honest. There are some churches actually who tell you don't go to hospitals because they should mind their business. How do you come and start announcing it's just like during politics, during campaigns. You are there, you've gone to listen to the word of God and then go home in peace. Then there's a politician who is coming there to campaign in church. That is just the same thing to me. The church should not pass information that they've been given from whoever and whoever on vaccine and everything to us right now. Because we already know there's always an MO of everything the church is doing. Like if I am going to tell you this vaccine is what you need, we know we don't need them. We know we don't need them. Remember when COVID vaccine was needed in the country, even the church was closed. If you guys remember, we were not doing events, we were not doing anything when the COVID vaccine came. So if it's something so serious, why is the church going to be used to tell us? For me, the government wants to deworm people. We know the dewormers we need for our children. Deworming, surely, deworming. Okay, that's bad. A few months ago, you were complaining we don't have enough vaccine for our newborns. That is the problem they should be taking care of.
Yeah.
That is what we want to hear them taking care of, because that is something we can't improvise on. Deworming, please, no.
Usually whenever I see any of these health campaigns that are initiated by the government, the first thing I take note of is that the government is not doing it of their own initiative. They're doing it because they are funded in order to execute that service.
Yeah.
And in the sense that you are obligated as the Ministry of Health to execute this particular task because of the people who have actually given the funds, who are now external people who are now executing some task or something. It could even be experimental, that hey, let's see whether this actually now works, helps kids this age to this age. Let's not implement it first in the Western countries. Let's implement it first within the
Guinea pigs.
yes, exactly, third world countries, and then let's see how it goes maybe 5 years or 10 years from now, and let's check up on these kids as we trace and see what progress that they have made. And let's brand it under what? Deworming is a common branding. Now that's upon the Kenyan now to do that. Here's the money, execute this, and then now you guys can brand it under whatever it is that you guys fit. Because deworming, even churches, even PCA churches all the time, they release these to, they give deworming little pallets and everything every other few months. I even noticed that. Every other few months. That's just one church I've seen it doing it. So I'm sure even other churches also do it.
There's some churches who do
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah. So when the government now wants to execute it under the emblem of deworming, that means that this is not necessarily deworming itself. This has to be something more, because unless it's a new deworming drug that does the deworming majestically,
But you know the
it will
difference
clean
is
you
what?
and cleanse you from head to toe.
Simon, you know what the difference is?
What?
The difference is when it comes to church, I am there. Took my child to church.
Yeah.
Then the church gave me the dewormer.
Yeah, yeah.
It's my choice. I have it.
Yeah.
Now in school, I'm not there. I'm just trusting the management and the government.
Well, yes, and that's why even institutions like schools and even churches are very useful to government to now implement a lot of these things. And the church is also very useful for even any government messaging, because even at the deworming, like you say, cleanse yourself from head to toe, just the way the Lord, will cleanse
Yeah,
you.
with the gospel,
and then now
the
use
Bible
this
and prayer.
Go ahead, as every single one, as you guys are coming here for your tithe, go ahead and take your deworming, because indeed we care about not only your spiritual health, but we care also about your physical health. And that is something many pastors will eloquently say. Isn't that right, CEO?
See, there are two things I wanted to say. First of all, I wanted to say that the Kenyan, when we became independent in 1963, we were becoming independent to fight three things: disease, ignorance, and what?
Poverty.
And poverty. It shocks me till today that we are talking about the same things which Tom Mboya wrote in his sessional paper number 10 of 1965. That we are going...
That's like 50 years ago.
We are talking about ignorance. And this ignorance is what has gone to the level of what we are talking about this issue now. Because Kenyans do not want to read for themselves and decide what is good for their children. They want to be read for. Even politically, you've heard very many times when someone tells you, baba ameshatusomea.
BBI.
Imeisha, sindio? So I cannot blame the government. I blame the public. Because you sit down, you've been told your kid needs vaccination. You know when your kid needs vaccination. Why are you going to trust someone else? And that's why I like the Mutava Musiemi led commission on the churches, which just released a report last week. And we'll discuss it in the next part when we talk about the last topic. It attacked very many issues with the church, that the church should just concentrate on what is important: spiritual nourishment of the people. Now, established faiths don't have that problem, and they might have issues, but they don't have main problem because first of all, they have built schools, which when people go to school, and I've always said in this show, that if you come from a village where there are more flags of churches than anything else, just know that place, what will kill you is poverty. Because the churches with those yellow, green flags everywhere, which they put in centers, it shows the level of ignorance, level of lack of education. Those are the people who tell you your brother is trying to kill you, we can remove this from you. You must have organized churches. You must have people who will tell you what to do in the right way. But the public should actually sit down and realize that the government cannot give you the right information all the time. because there are some people in government who are the cartels in the Ministry of Health. You've seen what they have done before. The PIP story, when they were doing the COVID, they stole everything. KEMSA has always been a crime scene. So what do you expect?
True.
Well, I know we are just about to go to the break, but
Yeah.
I'd actually say that the church has also contributed because of mixing religiosity, and sometimes they actually can be bad for the health of the Kenyans. I'm told that there are some churches where people may be on HIV medication or ARTs are told that your faith has healed you. So they defy the doctor's prescriptions. We've also seen whereby there was a HPV vaccine and they really disseminated fake news, especially to parents of girls, saying that they are giving the girls family planning, yet there was some scientific background around HPV and cancer and something
Actually,
about
it's
preventing it
very
in the
important.
future. So I feel like, as CEO has said, the church should just focus on what they are good at, because when they start mixing with health information, there is no room for mistake for health information. It's actually a matter of life and death. It's a matter of someone refusing the doctor's instructions vis-a-vis what they are told by the spiritual father or mother. So, yeah.
That's
So
true.
I'll say one thing.
Say it.
If I come to your church, please pray for me, teach me the word, and let me go home. And on that note, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back on Let's Be Real.
Welcome back. We've had a very interesting conversation, a conversation about the churches, and Maria amesema vaccination na watoto wake.
Well,
Tawe.
Tawe. Maria, what's next for us today?
What's next is,
Yes.
Today I'm being provoked. Anyway,
so
so
what's going on?
let's go to the next story. I remember Dr. C once, she was sitting here, she said that loans can build you. And I believe her. Good loans. Now, there are these bad loans whereby someone lends you, and they're always very attractive, like really attractive. The interest is low, and then they give you time, they give you peace. Then after some time, now they come after you in a very bad manner. I'll give an example of these motorbike lenders who, they know very well that this is a source of living. For someone to want to start a motorbike business, remember this is something that someone just looking for the food on the table. So you can imagine this is someone who is, let's start with first a low income earner, and it's good you're giving them loan. But now this is what happens. They press you, you pay the loan. Once you're done paying the loan, they come for the motorbike. It was debatable that they were the ones who were coming for the motorbike, but statistically, how do you tell me that everyone who has finished paying the loan is the one their motorbike goes? As long as you've not finished paying, you will still ride your motorbike.
Wow. You know, one thing, something I see as a similarity with this conversation is this. Something even very practical in people's lives. When you take a loan, you're immediately like a sugar baby to a sugar daddy. And here's what I mean by this. You can take all the money, enjoy the goodies of a sugar daddy, even as many ladies out there will enjoy. But there's a consequence that you must endure. You will stay within a certain restricted area. You only move as far as the sugar daddy will even allow you. And then you even stay where the sugar daddy even has paid for you, the rent and everything. But a few moments later,
SpongeBob.
you are also you will be what? Either replaced and then what? Kicked out. And then now you give all those possessions. They were not yours. It was an illusion that they were yours.
But you are paying for it.
You are paying for
And you
it
pay-
in other ways. As now I'm talking about the sugar baby now. But now even now bringing now according to the loans, the same context. When you get a loan, you are basically now to some extent, especially with the predatory way that even lenders have here, you're agreeing, be my sugar daddy. And then literally now, they would now, I would now say, yes, they will bless you. This is my blesser. This is the person who has actually let me this Boda. This is the person who has given me the ability to go out there and earn an income and also get all these flamboyant things. I'm able to now get that sustainable living. Then, now when you're about to now clear your loan, I take that from you and I remind you, who's your daddy? And then now, that's the main thing. And what happens is, whenever you take a loan, even when you take a loan, be very, very careful who you actually now are getting that loan from. Even your own, even from let alone institutions, even personal friends. They can even go at an extreme way depending on who they are. But now, and that's what even I would say is predatory lenders, they don't they have the upper hand when it comes to financials. So hence, if you even try to go the legal way, you're gonna experience a boatload of litigations and issues before even you get to the point where you say that Enyere, this has been you have been done wrong, and hence you be compensated accordingly because you actually sufficed all the loans. So be very careful when you're actually going out to get a loan. You're agreeing that indeed you're giving up so much so you can receive. The same mindset of a sugar baby getting something from a sugar daddy. Something plain and simple. Go ahead.
Well, for me, really, it's so unfortunate actually when I saw the young boda riders saying that their boda imepotea just like that. I'm imagining the people who lend them the boda have a tracker
They
or
put a tracker
a
as long as you're
tracker
not
or
finished
some
paying.
technology way of doing it. But for me, when it comes to these interest rates, I see it as an issue of regulation from government, because in Kenya we have always been okay. Take a look at to digress a bit. Take an issue of rent in Kenya. You know, there's a way when you talk to a person maybe in a certain state in America, you ask them how much is rent. They are able to tell you, give or take around pale 2,000 USD. There's some sort of regulation and there's some sort of ceiling whereby you are able to make a sort of a judgment that if I live here, my rent will be $2,000 or one, depending. But in Kenya, there's a person who lives in a 2-bedroom house of 10K, within 1 kilometer of 15K, and there's still a same person who lives a 2-bedroom apartment of 40K and 50K, and that is a radius of around 6 kilometers, for example. Why? There's no rent regulation, and there's no regulation of this is the ceiling, this is how far we can go. And that's why even in this same Nairobi, I think we have a housing problem, because you never know what to expect. You never know what is the average to work with, because some figures are outrageous. Let's go back to the issue of those loans. In the banking, and when we say banking, we are looking at the formality of it. I think the rate was 14. Then there was a COVID situation where there was some negotiations, you kind of 16. So you can expect what to, you know what you're working with. But then again, this, we call this, informal ama tuzite hizi za lending via the phone. There should be some form of regulation, and there should be some form of way of enforcing the regulations, and there should be some sort of tribunal for grievances. Why? We've had cases, and I think I saw on social media of a guy who said that he borrowed 300K, he paid 800K. Why? Because of how they come at you. You also have to talk about regulation and data privacy. I'm told that there is a person who borrowed the loan, and then those people have a way of accessing his personal data. They were texting his mother, his boss, his relatives, and the people in the contact book. So why do you go to such a great how are you accessing the data of my parents to tell them that I owe you 200 or whatever, whichever the amount?
I can cut you short, Wanja.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how. As a wife of a certified ethical hacker, I've been taught this. As long as someone has your ID number and your phone number, it's very easy for them to access all the information in your phone. And that's why they ask for those two things. Give us your ID number and your phone number. And if they're not, they're not trusted. This is not a bank.
They're not trusted.
You see, like if it's, let's say for example, I'm going to a bank. A bank, you already have my money. This, I can trust you. Yes, I know you also can do something, but at least I can trust you. Now, Maria today decides I need to start a money lending company. You give me your information. Tomorrow, Simon starts another one. You give him your information. So you'll find that you've given your information to so many people, and everyone will have it. So that's why we have so many loan apps right now. And look at the interest. It's just because they lure you with instant, and they lure you, they have to find a way to lure you. But in real sense is, as long as you give them your ID number and your phone number, That's how they start text. It's breach of privacy,
It's
yes.
breach of
It's
privacy,
wrong,
yeah.
but can we take them to court and tell them this is wrong? We won't. Because at the end of the day, they solved your problem. You needed the money. And that is the cost that it comes with. Now ask yourself, what other information have they accessed that you did not want them to access?
Probably a lot, and now that's how the issue of data privacy comes in. And by the way, in this country of ours, there's a way people get your contacts. Like you go to a building, that's what I'm told, unassign jina yako, number, nini. There are people who actually buy that data. So they have a lot of data of us, and that's how you end up getting so many calls that hujui zimetoka wapi. So I see an element of regulation, even a law, regulation even of percentages, and even where to seek redress. Because imagine a person borrowing 300 and they paid 800. That is a stress. And we've seen even worst case scenarios where people have even taken away their life because of the stress that comes with too many phone calls, pressure, urgent, threats of embarrassment. Tutapigia watu wenu, wewe niko na picha zako. Incessant, unapigwa ma calls ka 50. So it's a big issue. It's a big issue.
I think you guys have captured it very well. But I always say this, that anyone who lends your money is not your friend. A bank has never been anyone's friend.
Yeah.
The moment you're going to borrow, then you'll be at mercy and the whim of someone. But the biggest problem is not the whole institution. The biggest problem is the cartels which operate in certain environments. And one of them is actually the cartel which operates in recovery and when you're just about to clear your loan. If it's a property loan, there's a cartel which always looks at how faithfully you've been paying and how struggling you've been struggling. And they will always know that Simon will struggle here. And when you're just about to pay, if they do not bring an issue and take the property away from you, or take the motorbike away from you, they will either now they resort to stealing it. Because their agreement is they do not want you to own it. They want you to be a slave. You are basically working for them. And it is not only the guys who provide those motorcycles, even the guys who, when you go and, if you ever gone to buy a vehicle on loan, you'll know how many vehicles are repossessed. You'll be shocked. 90% of repossessions are when you have paid the whole equivalent of that money you'd have paid for that vehicle cash plus interest. So if it remains like 500,000 on top or $1 million, and you're now stuck completely, you can't pay, and the car was for 5 million, is when they come and take it away from you. They have a whole ecosystem in their operation where they know we will repossess it, sell it to this person at this amount of money. This person will give me the cut, and I'll pay off this. So they don't lose the money, and someone makes money out of you. And that's what these motorcycle riders should know, that if you are going to get a loan on from this establishment, you must have already worked your plan very clearly that you cannot default. But you see, life gives you challenges all the time.
Yeah.
You cannot plan, and that's why many people have died the way you are saying, because of this inability to finance their
Lifestyle.
And that's a key thing. Even if you're thinking even on a larger scale of things, when you think about loans, let's even talk even IMF. Even how even affects us. Yes, even on the larger, even because what you just stated, even I'm seeing even the Kenyan government doing the same thing.
Yeah.
All the finance bill and then adjustments here.
Yeah.
Then now let's squeeze the lower person for them now to be able to pay back this, because we need to make sure that we compensate these particular projects that need to be done, because that's our cash crop, and we don't care KRA. Let's make sure KRA has access to all of your funds, so we can know every penny that CEO sends, even that 20 bob that even buys of air or anything. Yeah. We know it all and make sure that it's even taxed.
If I can cut you short, you know, when you see people who come to entice you on getting loans, the ladies they send, who?
Oh, they do that.
They pick the best of the best selections. Wait until you default. The person who comes to grab your things.
It's the guy who looks like me. But and speaking of, yeah, because those things, they present them as blessings, but they come back as a weird thing.
Do you know Kanayo, the certain Nigerian actor?
No.
Go Google him.
No, wow, why would you see my dog? But speaking of blessings, there's some people out here. Hey, my brethren, let me tell you the story. So what's going on right now is, I think Kenya were coming around to something very interesting when it comes to legislation. So there's a bill that's actually been proposed. What's happening is that the Kenyan government is proposing that indeed all pastors, yes, all you guys who ask for offering and everything, that you guys are out here preaching miracles, preaching blessings on blessings of blessings, and everything are double. Whoa, nothing at all. Absolutely zero. And then all of a sudden, you guys who are preaching that, you can be fined for up to 50 million Kenyan shillings, and at the same time, you can be jailed for up to 10 years.
Yeah.
That is something that's actually been proposed. Now, here's my little intuition about this thing.
Tell us.
Is there something about, I have a very interesting twist on this. Remember during the Gen Z protests, there was a big issue about politicians speaking on the pulpit, correct? And then some pastors really got brave and started doing what? Telling some politicians off. This is the politicians telling the pastors, no, mamako up. And then now here's the thing. Blessings, in quotes, it's very vague. And also saying that even saying about blessings and miracles, it's very vague. I can put almost every action that a pastor does in a context of blessings or miracles. And then when I say that, I can then now prosecute you, especially if you did not actually allow me to come and speak in front of your church. That is actually, I'm thinking this is a caveat, because you guys decided to speak out against us. You will see. Or what do you guys think?
Oh, well, the debate of the issue of the church and the issue of the, do I put it as this? Some people have said that there is a need for separation between the church and the state. There has always been conversations about religion. However, there's a report that CEO alluded to in a commission that was led by Mutava Musimi, who was once upon a time very well known for those church things at the NCCK. He became an MP and what have you. Some of the things that triggered the formation of this committee was actually Shakahola. Because when you look at Shakahola, what happened, watoto walikufa, we are talking about karibu watu 500 plus. We are still told there are many graves, unmarked graves na huko. There was a correlation between all that had happened and religious brainwashing and the religious extremism. We have also even seen other very prominent pastors, or also they call themselves, sometimes misleading the masses. Just as we talked previously about health, wanawambia wacheni kukunywa dawa fulani, kansa imeisha, what have you. So at least what this report, in my view, what they're appreciating is that church has a lot of influence on society. Yeah. And because they have a lot of influence on society, sometimes there are people who take advantage of a framework that is not well regulated. Because what is the qualification for being a pastor? It should not be merely being able to talk in a mic and to shout. A calling. Because you still can't quantify who called you. Or maybe you called yourself, you know. It is. It has to be asked, what are your academic qualifications? What are your moral qualifications? What will you be teaching these people? And we have seen even religions where you can be able to understand the doctrines, what are their religious books. But I think Shakahola, because it was a global issue, it was a wake-up call for all. We might not have a full report of what really happened, but at least we appreciated the power of a religious doctrine that put people like sheep. And in the worst case of this Shakahola team, they led them to their graves, literally. Certainly the politicians would not be too happy when the church speaks the truth to them. And the church and the government, especially a government like this, that I would in my personal opinion, they're leading us to anarchy. They have always been very sensitive to people who speak truth to them. And we have had instances even in the past where bold religious leaders like Bishop Muge, like Father Kaiser, who was a Catholic priest who was killed in some place na huko Naivasha. Bishop Jenga, we've seen they are paid personal punishments because of their speaking truth to power. But maybe what this bill is curing is saying that let us regulate the church well so that there is no punishment to bishops and church leaders who have actually stood their ground. In fact, a story is told of one Catholic, alikuwa anaitwa, what are they called? These ones that are about to become Pope, Maurice Cardinal Otunga.
Yeah.
A story is told that there was a church, a piece of land near where Mukuru Promotion Center is, somewhere in South C, somewhere in that area. I don't remember the exact place. A story is told that some bad people wanted to grab that land. You know, back then people would just identify a piece of land and say, hii ni mzuri tunataka kuchukua. However, the land was owned by the church, part of it, and the other ones was for the low-income people, for the poor, where they had built their structures. So, Cardinal Otunga, upon arrival, everybody vanished. Because at the time, the church was taken seriously. There was no these funny pastors who, because some of us also believe that the church was very political in the last elections. They misled the people, and that's why people are crying. So, that day when Cardinal Otunga went, akasema, no, this land is for the church and for the poor. It is never owned by you. The people vanished, they never came back. They revered and they feared such men of the cloth who were taking their work seriously. So what's my point? My point is that we've seen the excesses of religious extremism on one side. We've seen on the other side where we've had church leaders who have stood their ground and gotten punished. So this bill, while I have not seen the details of it, for me I think it's high time we have a conversation on how the church is regulated. We can't just assume that simply because they're coming with the word of God, they are to be trusted. There must be a way of managing them. Re-registration of all churches. We have to know if they are running schools, are those schools up to standard, for example. So it's a worth it and a timely conversation, and I hope it will be taken seriously without any malice, without punishing others or what, just for us to get it right. We don't want.
Don't you think we are the ones who are being spiced, like the people, the congregation? Let me now move from the leaders of the church, because they've known that these leaders of the church can bow to us, just because they also know that we also bow to the fake miracles. Because if I personally would decide that, okay, this is a personal decision, me, if I go to church and then you've invited someone to talk about something else that is unrelated to church, that's not my business. I know what I came for. You see, like a woman was just sent to come and talk to us about health. It's okay, you're doing your job, but I wouldn't come and sit there and listen to you talk to me about health if I don't want to. So sometimes, because they know that we are okay being sold these miracles and these blessings, that's why they know that if we press the church, we can get what we want. And it should start with us. What do you believe in? Personally, what is in the Bible is what I believe in. And no matter how much education, let me use a witch doctor for an example.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll use a witch doctor.
Go there. Let's go there. Okay.
A witch doctor will tell you why you are becoming poor, why your marriage is failing, why your job is failing. They will tell you all those things that they don't have. I will be here telling you why your car is been bringing problem, and I will accuse your uncle or that brother that you don't even know of for that. I don't have a car. Do I know that engine problem happens? I don't. I don't know that insurance need to be renewed, but I will tell you other reasons why your car has an issue. So it's the same thing. These people will tell you everything. Sometimes let me be honest with you, most pastors stand in the pulpit to preach about your problems and tell you about go to God and turn to this. And you personally, way deep within you, you have one or two solutions to that. Because God is not going to bless you while you are sleeping. And without hard work, you're not going to get anything in life. And without having a good character, you're not going to be a free person. If you stay away from crime, you will not go to jail. There are simple things. Like if you steal, you can go to jail. You don't need a pastor to pray for you, to tell you that, let me tell you, God has sent me that you should not. No. There are some things that need common sense. Yes, we need our pastors to have a background of education about the theology or everything they're teaching, but at the same time, let's be realistically honest. Sometimes you know your problem. Stop going to look for poverty in churches, like CEO keeps saying. So, if these people have realized that if we tell these pastors not to give you miracles and blessings so that they can give us the freedom we want, you as the congregation, a common person who knows very well that your net worth is not billions, can you tell yourself that I am going to choose what I consume? Just like content, just like the decisions, just like the books you read. You make a choice of what you consume.
Okay,
so I should be the one to have a choice of what I consume in that church when I go. I'm trying to help our church leaders not to be pressed so much. So you come sell to us your miracles.
But
we will walk away.
CEO, wait, before you say something, do you think, what do you think, CEO? Let me hear you first before I say something.
First of all, let me get the context of the whole presidential working force, Reverend Mutawa Musiemi, because I have the report, I've read it, I understand it. So I'll give you the background, and the background is what Wanja, you allude. I don't like the word allude, by the way. Allude is, I like state. My friend Kip Koichitanu, one of the editors, we say, as a matter of fact, you don't allude, you state. So the report states that it is not the churches, it's presidential working for, on religion. It's a working party. Extremism. One of the things it tried to cure is a cultism, which you can see has grown into this country. There are various cults across not only Christian faith, but among other faiths as well. But I want to bring you to why this law is important. Because remember, miracles is the bread and butter of these people you call pastors. Remove the bread and butter, the mushrooming of non-existent churches will stop. Because there is now a price to pay. The Presidential Working Party states in that report that if someone promises you a miracle and it doesn't happen and it takes your money without your consent, he either refunds it or, and that, what does it play? It plays a very important role that people who are spreading fake miracles will stop immediately because there's a recourse which is legal. There are people who have sold their property and have gone to church because someone tells you, I have seen a vision, Simon, that you sell your land, you sell your property, and come serve the church.
That's a witch doctor.
And that's what people have done. And there are many churches which profess such faith. And also in that report, the naming of the bishops and pastors has been stated that there are no people who will be called in those extraneous names which do not exist. But the fact is, the moment you kill the bread and butter of people who are faking it, the church or the religious units will shift their attention because there will be no free lunch. There will be no someone telling you 310 anymore. Because you can go to court and say, I was not willing to give 100,000, but this person told me to give 100,000. And remember, the whole of this concept was brought in when, during campaign, when Ida said that churches needed to be regulated. There was a serious backlash. The gracious lady just said a fact that we need to regulate church. People came in hammer and tongs against her. And the Kenya Kwanza team went on campaign that the Azimio team is anti-Christ because they want to regulate the church. So they went and they won the election on that fake promise. Now it has, what we say in English, chickens have come home to roost, where you've realized everything else cannot proceed. The churches are being used for money laundering in that report. There are people who are doing devil worship or religious units. There are people who are doing extremism. The cults are all personality church. There's only one person you call your father in that church. He decides, today I'm broke. Everyone to bless me with 1,000 bob in the congregation. And all of you line up. To do so. And he goes to buy 2 new vehicles. And he tells you yesterday, the congregation is going to walk home. So when this law is passed, then we have killed their bread and butter.
Here's something I even just want to add on. I even think even further. The problem I have, there's miracles and then there's blessings. You have to remember there's miracles and then there's blessings. I was going to keep it a little bit vague. But I even want to go even further is, I even think right now as we speak in this time in Kenya, the church is not as influential as we think. And here's what I mean by this. Just because people go to church, Kenyans, we go to church and we brand ourselves as Christians, does not mean that we actually live the way that we say we do. And I've seen a lot of that is that we may be overestimating the influence of the church now, just because we Kenyans do not want to be put under the emblem of I am not a Christian, because the moment you say that you're not a Christian, people brand you as atheist. You believe in other things. So you still want to be under the cocoon of Christianity. But do you know what you don't do? You don't actually follow the rules and regulations within that particular religion. Because what is a lot of things that pastors complain about? You are a lukewarm Christian. You just come for the sake of protocol. That is who? The majority. So at times we also have to recognize that indeed, yes, this could also be a thing, that a cry out for the church to even looking at, can we wipe out all the chaff so that our influence can indeed be more streamlined, because we need to now reestablish our stage of influence. Because right now, even as we state, the church is not as practically influential as it was before. And that is honest truth. Yes, you're saying?
I was saying this actually to CEO. This is the first time I'm disagreeing with CEO. CEO, do you know that the rich people churches, no, churches have class too. People actually openly, willingly give their pastors money, buy them cars without even thinking. So the churches that sell miracles and will be streamlined are the churches of these people who are struggling. When the pastor asks for 1,000 shillings, it's a big deal. Because when a pastor is rich, they don't need to lie to you about. It's more like high-end businesses versus the slums businesses. They are different.
They lie. This high-end crime. I will not lie to you. There is the gospel of prosperity, and then there's the gospel of give and it shall come back to you, and there's the gospel of, there is so many proponents that you can actually influence people to make adjustments based on you, and it doesn't even come, it cuts across class. Even the extremes are very much similar. The extremes are very much similar than you may even think. But
why would someone sell you a miracle and they know that you just give them money?
Oh, you're assuming, here's what you're assuming. You're assuming that money is the only thing. There's also health. Yes, also health. Someone who's sick, yes, I've gone to all of these doctors. They have told me whatever. Work. And then now, I'm believing that indeed if I go to CEO's church, because I've even donated so much and whatever, he blesses upon me. He's selling now what? That blessings part.
That oil.
Yes.
Actually, speaking of health, there was a guy who was in Tanzania. Alikuwa anaitwa Babu sijua nini.
That the Babu Luliondo.
Yeah, anyway, Luliondo. And you saw people with big cars driving.
And it doesn't, and Maria, it doesn't matter where you are. Church is an opium of the masses. Wherever, religion, it doesn't matter whether you are rich or poor. The moment that guy captures you,
and your imagination,
you become a zombie.
Just people should know that they can talk to their God. I think that is the one thing we should preach to people. You can talk to your God. Like, just know that you as a person, God is...
Have you seen how many women who have left their husbands when they are told that that man is a drunkard?
Very many.
They believe the pastor more than their own husband.
The pastor wants you.
Yeah, more or less. The pastor wants you, your sister, and also even your cousin.
The pastor wants you. Let me tell you, nowadays...
And that's a big issue I have with many Christians. Christians are not able to separate themselves and their beliefs, and hence they don't even have a good understanding of themselves. They get deluded that indeed that they're one with their beliefs, and hence anything that the pastor says, they take it as one of their own.
No, when you walk into church, just tell yourself that's a human being. That is the only thing you should start by saying.
I'll be against that.
That's a human being.
Well, he is.
Yeah.
He's a human being ordained by God, so they say.
Where did you see God ordaining anyone?
He was there. They do those procedures and everything. Yes.
Like God came and called
Maria,
me.
you are
No.
daughter of a pastor. I remember that.
Hey,
Yes, I am.
hey. He kept a deal on you.
Kept it real, guys. See you next week. That is where we end the show.
Samantha Wines, now available in all the leading wine stores.